Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Katie Wilson proves how little she knows about economics. But before we get to any of that, time to talk about Governor Bob Ferguson.
Yeah, it's not my name.
All right, Turd Ferguson.
I love when I'm right, and at the same time, I hate when Democrats make it so easy anybody could have called this. Do you remember, I said when they first started talking about the ICE raids and cracking down on illegal aliens and cracking down on drug gangs and human traffickers and all these illegal alien criminals, that the Democrats were going to take a victory lap on the fact that crime went down in our area? Remember I told you that? It happened today. So for the past few days, you have King County blasting out to the entire media, and because our media mockingjays just repeat whatever press releases are sent to them, King County has been saying crime is down, crime is down. Now, is crime actually down? Crime is down from its record highs. It's still very high. So it's down from its record highs because you didn't really have anywhere else to go. But it is down. It's not where it should be, but it is down. Do you think maybe that's because of what ICE is doing? Let's take a look. Let's do a side-by-side comparison, shall we? The Democrats who are taking victory laps on crime being down, what have they done to bring crime down? Shall we go through it? Defunded the police. They haven't actually fixed that problem yet. I know a lot of them put money back into policing, but they have not had a lot of success at hiring more police. I know Seattle likes to lie and say that they have. They really haven't done a good job of that. Let's take what else they did. Prolific offenders. Well, they keep getting released by activist judges. Activist judges have not stopped being activist judges, so they haven't sentenced a lot of people. They still continue to release people. Activist prosecutors are still not prosecuting. Can you point to one thing Democrat leadership has done, either at the city, state, or county level here in Washington, that would have brought down crime? Not one thing. Not anything. But that hasn't stopped Turd Ferguson from taking a victory lap. He shared Fox 13's version of this article, which every single media outlet in town put out without asking that question, why is crime down? You know, I remember in social studies class, when I was in 6th grade, we had Mr. Hoffecker. Mr. Hoffecker, best history teacher ever. But he would say, you always need to know and he spoke with the heavy on the H, the who, the what, the when, the why, right? That was the joke. So Mr. Hoffecker was always very big on those questions, so I always ask who, what, when, where, how, why. Why is crime down? They always say crime is down. Why is crime down? Because it was record highs. It's not because of anything you guys did. So Turd Ferguson says, in the latest positive news for public safety, stop. Has there been any positive news for public safety around here? You guys have still been demonizing the police. You guys have been demonizing ICE. What's the positive news for public safety? What other positive news? He says King County is seeing a record low gun violence. Oh, I see. They're going to say, look, all our initiatives were successful. They're not. How many crimes do we do, which shouldn't have happened according to Bob Ferguson's laws, but criminals don't listen to his gun control laws? Grateful for all the work from law enforcement personnel and others working in our communities to stop crime. Who's doing that exactly? Give me the who, what, when, where, how, and why. You can't. Do you think maybe it's because ICE got rid of a whole bunch of illegal alien criminals and gang members? Maybe that had something to do with it? Maybe because President Trump sealed the southern and northern borders? Maybe that had something to do with it? Maybe because Donald Trump is torpedoing and hellfire missiling any narco-terrorist boat he sees, that's stopping drugs from coming into our area? Because I drive to Seattle, and it looks worse than ever before. Mike, I don't know if you go the same way home that I do, but what I do is I go towards Thomas, and then I make that left up Denny. You notice that abandoned building that has no stores in it? It's got apartments above it, but no stores. You notice there's more tents and more homeless people, and it's getting worse and worse. And I notice more homeless people around Como Plaza. I'm noticing more of them in the Seattle Center area. This is the tourist area of town. This is where you're supposed to keep them away from. And I'm seeing more and more of them. So tell me again how things are getting better. They're not actually. But at the same time, you guys are claiming that things are getting so much better, you won't give ICE the credit it deserves. You won't give the Department of Homeland Security the credit it deserves. You won't give federal law enforcement like the FBI the credit it deserves. Those of you who've been listening to the show for a while know one of my new favorite pastimes, and feel free to make fun of me, is reading the press releases from the FBI, the Department of Justice. They are so exciting, entertaining, and tragic. You get every emotion reading the press releases. It's great stuff. I love seeing this stuff coming in, telling us about all this. Some really messed up stuff, some really scary stuff. But I read these things and I see the amazing work they're doing. I see how they're working with local partners, with the Bellevue Police, with the Seattle Police, with the King County Sheriff's Office. You should be praising the federal government's involvement, but instead, no, they're going to demonize the federal government. Out of the other side of his mouth, what does he write in the post before this? In January, I created the Family Separation Rapid Response Team to support kids who are torn away from their parents by the Trump administration. Stop. Can we stop right there for a second? Number one, Obama's the one who did the kids in cages. Trump's the one who ended it. Number two, if we're talking about people being torn away from their parents, didn't you support Senate Bill 5599, which is state-sponsored kidnapping of children from their parents if they decide they want to come out as LGBTQ or want trans surgery? Isn't that you? Yeah, pretty sure it is. 3, where are these kids? Who are these kids? Show me who these kids are. 4, Joe Biden imported 300,000 kids and lost them. Do you not remember they set up a hotline for these lost children? And during a House committee hearing investigating this debacle where they brought over all these illegal alien children and lost them, many of whom ended up in human trafficking. You remember this?
So you're telling this committee that the Biden administration, while they were letting all of these unaccompanied minors into the country, and as we've talked about today, they weren't keeping track of them, they issued these kids a hotline that they could call if they had trouble with the sponsor family that they were put with. And you're saying that 65,000 calls to this hotline designated to protect these kids went unanswered? Is that what you're telling this committee?
Yes, sir.
Wow. That is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Do you know how many staffers the administration assigned to answering these phones and helping these kids?
1.
1 staffer? Any idea how many hours a day this staffer was working?
No.
Maybe that's why there were 65,000 calls that weren't answered from these little kids, huh? Unbelievable.
Yeah, well done. But Bob Ferguson is demonizing the Trump administration. You know the Trump administration has found 30,000 of these kids so far? They're trying their best, but losing 300,000 children, possibly to human trafficking or worse, is such a debacle, and I didn't hear Turd Ferguson talking about that at all. Democrats don't want to give any credit to the feds whatsoever. It's clearly not their stuff locally that's doing anything. One of our other local geniuses, Democrat Representative Pramila Jayapal, the Democrat from Hamas, today announced a bill to eliminate the ability of DHS to detain illegal aliens and require that illegals be given taxpayer-funded lawyers. I kid you not, this is what she was pitching up on Capitol Hill today.
Today to say enough. Our Dignity for Detained Immigrants Act has a remarkable, unprecedented 123 original co-sponsors. Before we've even introduced it, 123 co-sponsors, and it overhauls the detention system.
So you have 123 Democrats who are supporting you and give the illegal aliens taxpayer-funded lawyers and shut down ICE. That's your brilliant plan?
It drastically scales back the use of detention. It ensures that every single immigrant who is in detention has their human and civil rights protected. Our bill also phases out the use of private for-profit detention centers. It prohibits the detention of children and families and makes it harder to detain primary caregivers and vulnerable people like pregnant women or seniors or workers who are whistleblowing on unscrupulous employers. It requires DHS to allow members of Congress to do our jobs and conduct those unannounced inspections that hold these facilities accountable.
Oh, yeah, we should definitely let you guys run this show. You know, normally when you make these big announcements, you put up the cherub-faced children, as Mike would say, right? You put them up behind the person making the announcement. Do you know who's standing behind Pramila Jayapal while she's making this announcement? I know some of our Democrat friends get mad when I call her the Democrat from Hamas. Do you know who's standing behind her? Mahmoud Khalil. Literally the guy running events, supports, protests, riots for Hamas at Columbia University. The illegal alien who lied on his visa application, his student visa forms, to come into this country and should have been deported if not for activist judges. That's who's standing behind Pramila Jayapal, the guy who was honored by CARE, the Council for American Islamic Relations. That's an unindicted co-conspirator in the Holy Land terror trial, the largest terror financing trial in U.S. history. That's who you bring up as your poster child? Wasn't just her. Representative Delia Ramirez actually praised the fact that Khalil was standing there.
Let me now introduce to you a leader for freedom of speech, for student rights, for humanity, for peace, Mahmoud Khalil.
A leader of student rights. He locked people in a building. He encouraged people to assault Jewish students on campus. He locked janitors and engineers, people who are working as custodians in that building who are people of color. They're now being sued for it at Columbia University. This is a guy who gave out propaganda from Hamas's office. But he's a leader of student rights. He's a leader of human rights. The organization which raped women, the organization which killed 1,200 civilians, kidnapped over 250 more. This is the poster child you're putting up there at the White House? Are you kidding me? What other pearls of wisdom did this representative have to share?
The American people's anger and tolerance of DHS violations of our rights, that's what's the result of DHS unlawful, unaccountable, unconstitutional actions, which put the American people and our liberties at risk every day. Let me be very clear. The Department of Homeland Security, you can quote me on that, is the single biggest threat to public safety right now.
The Department of Homeland Security is the single biggest threat to public safety. Really? Because the last time I checked, crime is going down, and it's the Democrats who are saying crime is going down. It's not because of anything you guys have done. You want to give lawyers to the criminals. How'd that work out for the squatters in houses? How'd that work out for our friend Jaskaran Singh, who was renting a unit to a guy who was a notorious fraudster, stayed in that house for what, 2-3 years? How'd that work out for any of the other cases Jonathan Cho covered where you had these people like Steve Hickey defrauding the homeowners and staying there long periods of time and not paying their rent, but they had lawyers paid for by bar associations here in Washington? You know how I know I'm on the right side of history and all these people are on the wrong side of history? The Washington State chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations, those guys who are tied to Hamas, they're the ones who are leading, their volunteers, their members are leading walkouts of students from public schools, condemned recent remarks made by President Trump regarding Somali Americans. In a recent statement, CARE said they were upset because these are derogatory remarks that he made against the Somalian population. Imran Siddiqui. Oh, you mean the guy who's literally supporting terrorism, who we have covered at great lengths on this show? Their executive director got all mad about this. Washington proudly holds one of the largest Somali American populations in the nation, and President Trump's comments are an insult to not only that community, but all immigrants. You know what you should be saying, dude? The actions of the fraudsters make my community look bad. I want them prosecuted because they set a bad example and they give everybody a bad impression of our community. If it was 50, 60, 70, 80 people involved, there are 20,000 who live in Minnesota. And they weren't involved. They're giving us a bad name. We should see them prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Instead, they're mad about his comments? No. What they're mad about is that their fraud was found out. I don't know if we talked about this at the time because I didn't have all the information yet. I thought this was weird. Remember bus bombing lady, Uba Gardir, who was running for office? She was running for King County Council. I thought it was very weird that some of the money that was backing her was coming from random shops, random empty shops in Minnesota. Why was money for a King County Council race coming in from Minnesota? I still don't have the answers to that question. Well, you can guess. You can figure it out. I know the money was coming here. I know where it was coming from. Can't figure out why. We know there's always money that comes in from outside a certain area when there's an election. I can only surmise and guess. But what we should be doing is investigating the community here. Because you're looking at a population of people that come here, that the majority of them are not educated, the majority of them are poor, and the majority of them are living on welfare. And when you have all that happening, what exactly are they contributing to the growth, the expansion of our country? Not very much. It sounds like they're taking up the resources. And now we have this whole fraud thing on top of it. When people used to come through Ellis Island, they had to demonstrate they would not be a drain on our government's resources. In fact, still to today, if you come here legally, you have to do the same thing. Democrats seem to have forgotten that. Let's just give out stuff to anybody who wants to come here. We cannot afford it. There are 9 billion people on this planet. Do you want to give Social Security to every single one of them? You ask a Democrat, the answer is going to be yes. You want to give Medicaid, Medicare, you name it, to every single one of them? Yes, they're the same people pushing for a basic universal income like they just passed in Illinois. That's what they want. They don't care who's paying for it. They believe they can spend your money better than you, and they want to spend it on illegals. They want to spend on illegal alien criminals. They literally want to give them lawyers to circumvent our system. And then what makes me sick is people like Bob Ferguson taking a victory lap, people like Gurmay Zahalai taking a victory lap, saying, look, crime's down. We did it. What did you actually do? You didn't do anything. You guys are attacking ICE agents. You guys are doxing ICE agents. You guys are doing everything you can to get in the way of ICE and the Department of Homeland Security. And yet they're the reason crime is going down. Under your watch, crime went to record highs. Let's do this for a second. What is the only thing that is different from 2023? What is the 2023 is when we hit the record on homicides and gun violence. What is different between now and 2023? There's only one difference, and it's the guy in the Oval Office. That is the only difference between now and then. It's not because of anything Bob Ferguson did. It's not because of anything Gurmay Zahalai did. He's been in office for, 3 days? It's not because of anything Bruce Harrell did. It's because of what the feds are doing. You guys are taking a victory lap while demonizing them, while supporting terrorism, while working for people who are working against this country. Makes me absolutely nauseous. Absolutely nauseous. Speaking of nauseous, when we come back, my friends, Katie Wilson is out with a new video, which shows she doesn't know economics at all. And this is who people elected to be in charge of our city. We'll have that insane audio for you when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show. They like to say Mamdani's responsible for this socialist swing. No, my friends, this has been going on here in Seattle for years. Well, Katie Wilson put out a new video, our Seattle socialist mayor-elect, and her new video shows she doesn't know jack squat about economics. Not at all. Give a listen.
I don't agree with everyone on my transition team about everything, and they don't agree with me on everything either. But I'm a firm believer that you don't need to agree on everything in order to be able to work together. That's the approach I've taken throughout my career as a community organizer. It led to coalitions that won the highest minimum wage in the country, taxes on large corporations, stronger renter protections, and better access to public transit. We're facing real challenges here in Seattle, from an escalating homelessness crisis to out-of-control costs of living, and it's going to take all of us to tackle those together.
Hang on a second here. Hang on a second. You raise the minimum wage. You put massive taxes on corporations. You're bragging about that. And then you're wondering why things are so unaffordable. Do I need to draw you a line? Do I need to draw you a map? How dumb are you? If you raise the costs of businesses, then they raise the costs of doing business on the people who are buying their products. That's why costs go up. If you raise the minimum wage, then your slice of pizza, Katie Wilson, gets more expensive. Because Joe's Pizza has to pay more to have somebody make it for you and serve it to you. I know you're big on pizza. You made that whole pizza video showing you didn't understand economics. The mind-boggling stupidity here. Wait a second, Mike, let me do this a little differently. Let me do this from the leftist perspective, right? According to the leftists, the large companies fired everybody, and they made it unaffordable to be here. So, wait a second. You're saying that you tax these companies as punishment, right? That's what you did. And there's still more homelessness? What? So what you're doing is you're admitting that whatever you did didn't work because homelessness is going up. All that money you taxed them was supposed to be spent on homelessness. So why is homelessness getting worse? Congratulations, you played yourself. You're the one who's admitting that you are the architect of all these stupid ideas, even though I don't think you can take credit for minimum wage. You want to take credit for the head tax? Cool. But I don't think you get it for minimum wage. That one, let's give that one a Kashama Sawant where it belongs. Here's something else, though. There was an article in the Seattle Times. And I was immediately dismissing this thing because it was listing who was in Katie Wilson's administration, and there are a bunch of underlings and nobody who's really popped up on my radar before. But then, buried at the bottom of the paragraph of the article was this paragraph. The structure of Wilson's office is built to reduce the number of people who directly report to her as mayor. A recommendation laid out in a post-primary memo crafted by the mayor's office alumni by consolidating department oversight under one person. The hope is to elevate the expertise contained among longtime city staff while greasing the skids for collaboration. No. Do you realize what that's saying? One of these people is going to be the person who everybody reports to, and then that person reports to Katie Wilson, which means whoever this person is, who she appointed, is going to be the one actually running the city. Katie Wilson is just going to be a figurehead. And my guess is they realize she's not very bright. She's not all there. She has no experience. Let's put somebody else in charge who's actually running the city. And Katie Wilson will just send out to make speeches because she's not that good at that either. Katie Wilson is not going to be the mayor of Seattle. She'll be the mayor in name only. That's it. That's according to the Seattle Times. Bragging about this structure, proud of this structure, happy about this structure. That is the plan. I told you she was a beard. Now they're admitting it. They're admitting She is not making any decisions. Whoever this person is under her is the one who's making all these decisions. That's what they're doing. They are running the show. She is not. She is an empty vessel. Has been from the beginning. They'll keep having her make her little videos and such, but she's not actually running this city. We're about to see what these progressives who work behind the scenes, who now have full control of Seattle, what they deem and what they think is going to happen, and it's going to be an absolute disaster. This one here from the 425, Ari, crime is down because it's not being reported. My car was broken into last month. The city of Seattle has a crime report that is so long and difficult to fill out. When they want to know my race and gender, I stopped and gave up. Waste of time. It's impossible to just report the crime. I don't want to give the city every detail of my life. I suspect I'm not the only person who has this experience while trying to fill out the police report. I'll tell you this, 425, I didn't even try. When my wife's car got broken into a little while ago, didn't even bother reporting it. Just called the insurance company and filed a glass claim. Luckily, there wasn't that much in it at the time. But how many other people aren't reporting crime? That's one of the major reasons that crime is down, because people said, why bother reporting it and maybe somebody will show up? You know how long it takes for the cops to show up when I get death threats? It's crazy, guys. It really, really is. That's why I don't chance my security to anybody else. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. When we come back, President Trump is making cars cheaper by undoing some Biden-era regulations. We'll tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. this summer, my friends over at Renton Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram said it would be pretty entertaining if we could get Ari Hoffman to like EVs. So they gave me a few EVs to drive around. We would swap them out once a month, once every 2 months. And I got to say, we did this whole segment on social media over on Instagram called Ari versus the EV. And I got to tell you, I love the things. I really, really do. Once I got a charger put into my house, once I had that happen from our friends, then all of a sudden I said, I understand why people like these things now. I really, really do. Now, mind you, I still like my muscle car, my big Dodge Charger with its V8 Hemi, and I still love that car. I'm not saying I want to give that car up, but I did notice that out on the showroom floor, the last time I was there, actually swapping out my wife's car and getting her a Jeep, which I did on Black Friday because they had some crazy deals, they had the electric Dodge Charger Daytona. No, this is not a long infomercial. The reason I am telling you all this is because for the first time ever, I actually looked at that thing and I said, I wonder if I should get that thing. Now, that is a consumer choice, where a consumer says, do I want to drive the V8? Do I want to drive the electric car? That's not government incentivizing it. That's not government mandating it. It's, I tried a product, I like it better, I'll do this. Mike, I don't know if you remember the first time you used a DVD. First time you put that DVD in, you're like, I don't have to rewind this sucker. I can skip to certain chapters without fast-forwarding the whole thing. It's a better technology. First time digital download, not quite the same, though. You go, this is convenient. This is great. Why does the sound suck? That was my biggest problem with the digital downloads. But when technology is better or it fits your needs better, you will choose it. The problem I've always had with EVs was that the government was spending our taxpayer money trying to force you into these things or making mandates trying to force you into these things. It should be a choice. You think it's better for the environment? Cool. Go buy yourself one. You don't want to pay for gas anymore? Cool. Go buy yourself one. You like that they're ridiculously fast and that I beat my son in a Jeep, which was an EV, when he was driving my Dodge Charger? Cool. Go get yourself one. That's the consumer way. That is the free market.
Also, news item, Ari beats his kids in cars.
Ari just beats his kids. Let's just put it right there.
I beat my kid in a Jeep.
Exactly right. I will say there's a little experience, too. It's also who wants it more, right? So the kid goes blowing past me on I-5, booking it at 80-something miles an hour in my Charger. We were at a movie one night. I forget the last movie we all saw together. And I said, oh, you little, you know what? I'm going to catch up with him, and blew right past him in the Jeep. It was great. Anywho, the reason I bring all this up is because President Trump announced today a reset of the corporate average fuel economy standards, the CAFE standards, which were being pushed by the Biden administration, which were making cars more expensive.
Today, my administration has taken historic action to lower costs for American consumers, protect American auto jobs, and make buying a car much more affordable for countless American families and also safer. We're officially terminating Joe Biden's ridiculously burdensome, horrible, actually, CAFE standards that imposed expensive restrictions and all sorts of problems, gave all sorts of problems to automakers. And we're not only talking about here, we're talking about outside of our country, because nobody could do it. Nobody wanted to do it, and it was ridiculous, very expensive. It put tremendous upward pressure on car prices, combined with the insane electric vehicle mandate. Biden's burdensome regulations helped cause the price of cars to soar more than 25%, and in one case they went up 18% in 1 year. Today we're taking one more step to kill the Green New scam. It's part of the greatest scam, probably, well, other than Russia, and a few others I could name. The greatest scam in American history, the Green New scam, and it's a quest to end the gasoline-powered car. This is what they wanted to do, even though we have more gasoline than any other country by far. And people want the gasoline car. They want everything. They want electric. They want to have lots of alternatives, but they do want the gasoline car. Right now, it's leading away by a lot. The The car business is a very interesting business, but we want to keep it that way.
Look, we're not up to the thing in Knight Rider 2000 where you see gasoline for 10 cents a barrel in one of the commercials while he's driving the electric red Kit. Yeah, we're not there yet, guys. But people still want their gas-powered cars. People still want their EVs. People still want their hybrids. And as I said, going back to the beginning of the Ari Hoffman show, if you want to get away from gas-powered cars, your best thing is not to jump to EV. Your best thing is to go to the hybrids. Everybody I know who has a hybrid loves their hybrid. Everybody I know who has an EV, they have varying things they say depending on which brand they bought them from. But everybody I know who has a hybrid absolutely loves their hybrids. And I know people who are now looking to buy hybrids. I don't know why the government skipped that step. I don't know why they did that. You got to transition people slowly, but also you got to get them used to a new technology and show them how it's not going to inconvenience their lives. Getting an EV, you got to get the charger for the house. You got to get the subscription so you can use the chargers out on the road. Some people want to do that. Some people don't. But if you're trying to get an entire economy away from gas-powered cars, you got to find an affordable way to do it. And saying these EVs, which are ridiculously priced right now, because the technology costs so much, that's not going to do it. It's not going to do it. Typical government goes, we'll just mandate it. You want to hear something funny, Mike? I went to the Dodge dealership to get my wife's car. So we traded out her car. We got her a new Jeep Compass. It's a great car. Love it. She wants something smaller. She wants something orange. It's bright orange. She wanted that car. I buy cars pretty frequently because I'm always swapping out my Chargers until they discontinued the V8s. So I'm used to the forms, and they gave me a new form. And they said, this one is, if you want us to engrave your catalytic converter. I said, what? And they said, yeah, we'll put your name on your catalytic converter if you want us to. She gave me a look, knowing what was coming. I'm friends with the people over at Dodge now. I'm there so often. So what happens? Washington State passed a law that because catalytic converters are stolen so often from all kinds of vehicles, on the off chance your catalytic converter is found, they can return it to you. But by then, you've probably bought a new catalytic converter, which, by the way, is just something to deal with carbon emissions, a whole nother story about that. That's government's answer to crime. Not let's lock up the offenders, not let's keep prolific offenders behind bars, not let's prosecute crime. Let's have a form mandating that dealerships now have to engrave a catalytic converter so we know that it's yours. These insane restrictions are what's making it more expensive. Now you got to pay a guy to go engrave the thing, which means he's not doing something else. Now you got to spend the time engraving the thing when you could have just arrested the criminal. That's government. Ford CEO Jim Farley said this today.
We were number 2 last year in EV sales. We were number 3 in hybrid, and we're the leading brand for combustion. We believe that people should be able to make a choice, as you said, Mr. President, and we will invest more in affordable vehicles. This allows us to invest in affordable vehicles made in the U.S., which we will take the lead on, and will allow us to make vehicles more affordable.
Exactly right. And here's something else. If they're made in America, they're more affordable as well because you don't have to pay other tariffs coming in on those vehicles. Now, if we could get the interest rates down a little bit more, I think you're going to see a boom in people buying cars. I really, really do. And that's without government incentives. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. People are now politicizing Christmas and using it to attack ICE. Oh, this is a new one. We'll tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. I think a big problem we're having in religion right now is a lot of institutions, synagogues, churches, saying we're going to junk all the stuff of the past to go woke, or to just say we want to be more progressive, completely ditching anything that's actually in the Bible. Well, now, just in time for Christmas, according to the Post-Millennial, a Catholic parish in Dedham, Massachusetts, is drawing attention after revealing a nativity display without Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, instead placing a large sign slamming immigration and customs enforcement. The display went up this week at the St. Susanna Parish, known as one of the most left-leaning parishes in the Archdiocese of Boston. The sign reads, "ICE was here. The Holy Family is safe in the sanctuary of our church. If you see ICE, please call LUCE." I don't know who that is. Parish pastor Father Stephen Josama said the move follows a long-standing tradition of using the nativity to comment on national issues. Okay, I'm not that familiar with this religion. Is this what you do with the nativity scene? I thought the butter nativity scene or the butter Last Supper. Okay, cool. I get that. I have a sense of humor about these things. But to comment on social issues? What do you want to bet last year they probably wrapped a little baby Jesus in a keffiyeh? Even though, right? What do you want to bet this was one of those places? Oh, wait, I forgot. The Pope did that last year. They did that at the Vatican with the woke Pope that we used to have. Well, the new one's not much better. But this is crazy. This is actually crazy. I was on Newsmax a little while ago, and I was debating some Democrat strategist or Democrat activist. I forget who it was. They all blend together after a while. And I remember this guy was saying, "Ari, I'm a Christian, and we don't do the things that ICE does. That's not compassionate." And I said, "Well, I'm Jewish. And if Israel had better borders, maybe the Romans wouldn't have killed Jesus." You could see, like, you could hear, like, his brain overheating when I said that one. So what exactly, nativity scenes are used for politics? I thought you just want the cute little display in front of your house. Did I miss something here? You want to educate me on nativity scenes being used for politics? Give me a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. I know when I go into that store in Leavenworth, oh, I love Leavenworth, but that all-year Christmas store that's in Leavenworth, when they have all the holiday dioramas, like you want the Ghostbusters house decked out for Christmas, you can have it. You want the Batcave decked out for Christmas, you can have it. I love that store, and I don't even celebrate Christmas. That store is amazing. I'm just happy walking in there, and I don't even celebrate the holiday. I didn't see anything political in that store. I just saw funny little baby Jesuses. You know, maybe it was Snoopy in the major or something like that. Am I missing something here? 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. The pastor said the parish has been involved in supporting immigrant and migrant families, including several who attend the church. He claimed that some parishioners could face serious danger if removed from the country. He said they've done everything they're supposed to do, but their status could be in jeopardy. Well, then if they've done everything they're supposed to do, why is their status in jeopardy? The church's Peace and Justice group, part of Pax Christi, updates the nativity scene each year to reflect different issues. Past displays have focused on mass shootings, gun violence, and climate change. St. Susanna Parish previously made national news in 2018 when its nativity scene showed baby Jesus in a cage and the three wise men blocked behind a wall, a protest aimed at the Trump administration's family separation policy at the border, which we all know what that actually was, right? First of all, it was the Obama administration who started that, putting the kids in cages. Second of all, what's happening was these drug runners were threatening families, say I'm your kid or else. This is the kind of stuff they do over there. The church says the Holy Family will return to the major on Christmas Eve after the message has been displayed through the Advent season. This is bonkers. Absolutely bonkers crazy. But this is the problem we're having with woke religious institutions these days. Oh, here, I'm getting correction. Matt says it's manger, not major. Sorry, forgive my ignorance of the holiday. Thank you for that. Do appreciate that. This is crazy here. This one from the 206, it's 100% egregious, inappropriate, and offensive to use the nativity for advancing political causes. especially those that break the law. After all, the foundation of Christianity is how Jesus was born and then later died on the cross and rose again on the third day. Usurping for any reason, any other than that, is most unchristian thing anybody could do. Yeah, that's what I was thinking also. It's not even my religion, but this just seems blasphemous to me. Baby in the Manger, you want to make a baby Snoopy with all the characters from Peanuts? Cute. But you're not offending anybody with something. Why do I have a giant Mets apple on my front lawn? Does it have anything to do with Hanukkah? No. It's a cute decoration and it lights up and makes my house look pretty. Do reindeers really have anything to do with Christmas? Come on, guys. We all know the answer to that one, right? But it's fun for the holiday. I never heard of the manger being turned into a political thing. Lots more to discuss as the show continues. When we come back, more of your calls, more of your texts, plus Bellevue is being brutally honest about what happened to Seattle's Amazon employees. We'll tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, the creator of The Matrix is really mad that us conservatives keep using the term red pill. But before we get to any of that, we go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from Alan in LaConner. Alan, what's going on?
Well, Ari, I hear you advocating for the electric cars. And I want you to think about something. Every battery built in the world puts out an electrical field. They tell you don't put your cell phone next to your heart in your pocket because it'll interrupt your heart's electrical field. The 12-volt battery puts it out. But it's far enough away that
is there something in the background that's an electrical field? I hear something in the background there, sir.
Oh, my computer pressure started up in the garage. I was just starting to enter the garage.
No problem. Do you have any literature on this? I'd love to read it.
Nobody. I came up with it. I started talking to my doctor. He's not my doctor. My neighbor is a doctor, so we sit on the porch and we talk and stuff. And I brought it up to him, and he agreed with me. And he says, "Yeah, 3 to 5 years, you're going to see heart problems hit this country like a plague from these electric cars because the electrical field is going to start disrupting hearts. People without no heart problems at all will start having heart problems within 3 to 5 years from these electric cars. You're sitting on top of a battery, full perimeter of the car, 4 to 6 inches thick for how many hours a day?"
Alan, I would love to see some information on this. If your doctor friend has any of it, please email it to me, ari@kvi.com. That's ari@kvi.com, okay?
Well, I don't think he has any information on it. I came up with it because I've been a car guy all my life.
Gotcha.
I built cars, I built show cars, and I know batteries, and I started talking and thinking about batteries and that. My only thought is common sense, basically. If you take a battery to that side, and it only takes a pinhole for the electrical field to leave a battery.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you do get anything on that, send it over. And if it does happen, then you get to say, "I told you so." So you get to call us back and say, "I told you so" on that day, sir, okay?
Well, yeah.
I don't think you're going to want to, though. I think it's going to be bad for all of us. Appreciate the call, though. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Did you know that during COVID, I kept waiting to see the mass migration out of Washington, and it wasn't happening. It was happening from California. It was happening from New York. It wasn't happening here. I would constantly say, when I would look at the numbers, why aren't people leaving Washington where you have Emperor Inslee? Why are people not leaving? Well, it turns out we found out the answer to that last year during the election, when we found out 1 million Californians moved to Washington. So those conservative friends of yours that left town, they were replaced by liberal Californians who had voted to destroy their own state and wanted to come here to destroy ours. That's what we found out. That's why Washington's getting bluer. Well, now it looks like what I was worried about happening is finally happening. Washington is now among the states most consistently losing taxpayers to interstate migration, as Democratic lawmakers prepare yet another major tax hike aimed at high-paying employers. According to a new ranking published by the National Taxpayers Union Foundation, Washington ranks number 43 nationally, losing a net taxpayer to other states every 29 minutes and 55 seconds. That means over the course of this show, 6 taxpayers here in Washington will have moved to other states. The analysis draws on IRS migration data tracking taxpayers moving in and out each year and argues the trend reflects Americans' preferences for lower tax, limited government states. Yes, even the people who say, "I need to vote my conscience." They want to move to one of these states so they can say, "I voted my conscience, but I'm in the minority, but at least I'm saving money." The biggest losers were California, number 51, losing a taxpayer every 1 minute 44 seconds, New York every 2 minutes 23 seconds, Illinois every 6 minutes 4 seconds. The top gainers were Florida, gaining a taxpayer every 2 minutes 9 seconds, Texas every 2 minutes 53 seconds, and North Carolina. Hey, North Carolina is getting our airplanes too. Are they getting the people from here? Now, yesterday, Sean Scott, the socialist from Seattle who's in the Washington state legislature, Sean Scott gave a little press conference, and it was something. I watched the thing in its entirety, and I realized something else. You remember yesterday I played for you the interview he did with Click Daniels from Como News? I played that interview where Chris Daniels asked him all the right questions he should have asked him. And when he asked him the questions, it looked like Sean Scott was just reading off a script. He had his prepared answers, and he kind of stumbled when he was stumped by a question. Sean Scott, to anybody in the media who asked him anything, gave the same canned answers. He's memorized this script that he's on, and when he's challenged with anything that deviates from it, he doesn't know how to answer. Doesn't know at all. Really fascinating. Now, before we play you clips of that, I want to show you what's happening in reality. So, the socialists say, well, it's no big deal if these companies leave, or they're not going to leave, or they're going to do their social responsibility. There was a fascinating story that Chris Daniels from Como News actually did last night. And what he did was he went and interviewed officials in Bellevue. And the officials in Bellevue were very, very candid in saying, well, we got all these jobs because Seattle's stupid. But now because Washington legislature is stupid and might tax these jobs also at Amazon and wherever else, they might leave Bellevue. Give a listen to a story from Chris Daniels of Como News.
The state representative, Sean Scott, is pitching this business tax on the largest employers like the one that was approved in Seattle. And that has helped to attract jobs and business here to Bellevue, where now this city's mayor is warning that the same thing could happen on a state level. The Spring District is an urbanist's dream, a mixed-use residential and business transit-oriented development on the light rail line with offices for Meta that was developed as Seattle gave big employers a reason to seek Bellevue's greener pastures.
We definitely have room to grow.
And for Bellevue Mayor Lynn Robinson, it is also a cautionary tale about how Seattle's payroll tax would play out in the rest of the state.
This would be detrimental to everybody, I think.
It's a corporate payroll tax on annual wages above a $125,000 threshold. Only the largest 1% of Washington corporations will pay this payroll tax.
State Rep and Seattle Democrat Sean Scott is pitching the bill that he says would raise up to $3 billion a year for housing, health care, and higher education and offset federal funding cuts.
Feels more like one of those tax first, plan later proposals.
Rachel Smith is with the Washington Roundtable representing private sector interests.
Washington already ranks 46th in affordability, and we know that significantly increasing costs for businesses does not lower costs for families in Washington state.
Any potential revenue stream like that doesn't solve the budget shortfall we're trying to solve for this next year.
Yet Washington Governor Bob Ferguson did not immediately rule out new taxes after signing off on the biggest tax increase in state history this year.
It's really hard, but we're not doing it by taxing the very businesses that provide our city with the monies that we need to provide human services.
So you think the state should give local control and not try to just cram this down cities' throats?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because, after all, Bellevue's sparkling Spring District, full of open space, just saw Meta decline an option to expand here this week. Perhaps a warning sign ahead of what will be a difficult conversation. Robinson suggests that about 10,000 jobs have moved or have been impacted since Seattle approved their payroll tax 5 years ago from the west side of the lake to here on the east side of the lake. I also heard from Bellevue's chamber president today who says he doesn't like this idea because Seattle businesses would be credited or exempted from this new bill, and he believes that would level the playing field and would hurt Bellevue. The session begins on January 12th. For now, live in Bellevue, I'm Chris Daniels, Como News.
This is insane, by the way. You literally have the proof of what's going to happen, and you have the socialists in the Washington state legislature doubling down on this insanity. We know that Meta, as referenced in that report, that's Facebook and Instagram, they said they're not expanding here. Why do you think that is? Why do you think it's layoff after layoff after layoff here. I noticed that Sean Scott kept using the answer, oh, it's because of AI, because of AI. It's not because of AI, dude. If it was because of AI, you'd see the layoffs everywhere. Why is it always here? So yesterday for his press conference, our friend Brandy Cruz was down there. We spoke to her yesterday when she was on her way back, but she posted some clips of the questions she asked Sean Scott. Now, this first one is very entertaining. Why? Because she asked him, what happens if Amazon moves? And he says, don't worry, we'll make a collective to replace Amazon. I kid you not.
Would you like them to leave, Representative Scott? Do you think that Amazon and Microsoft are a net good for our state?
Say more about that. When you say net good, what do you mean?
Do you think they contribute and add more value to our state than they detract?
I think that workers, were they to collectivize, could come up with something like Amazon on their own, but that Amazon has a very difficult time providing the value that you would like to see in reverse. In other words, I think that working people getting together, forming unions, coming out and lobbying for policies such as this could create something that resembled an Amazon corporation without that added layer of exploitation. But I don't know that Amazon's leadership, such as it is, would be able to do something like that on its own. So I'm much more concerned with the social good of people that are in Washington state, that want to be here, that believe in Washington state enough to fight for well-funded public programs. And they can speak for themselves through other channels if they would like to.
Okay, he's lost his mind. Absolutely lost his mind. So number one, he's talking about a collective? Some kind of collective? I've heard this somewhere before.
We are the Borg. Lower your shields and surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Your culture will adapt to service us. Resistance is futile.
Yeah, no wonder they like Star Trek so much. They like the collective. They like the Borg. They're rooting for the bad guys in this. That's what's going on here. Okay, guys, if a collective could have come up with Amazon, they would have come up with Amazon. Here's something else. All these employees, you know why you don't have a lot of unions over at Amazon? They get health insurance. They get mental health and well-being support. They get paid time off. They get paid parental leave. They get a 401k. They get so many perks and benefits over at this place. I actually have a whole list of it right here to take the rest of the show to read for you, the perks that you get as an Amazon employee. But he thinks that this collective could do better. There's a book I think you should read. It's called Atlas Shrugged. You might hear what happens when the government takes over the means of production. You know what happens after that? You tear up John Galt's railroad tracks. John Galt's got Galt's gulches. You tear up the railroad tracks built on the metal from Henry Reardon. That's what you do. You tear up the entire railroad tracks. They're gone. You know what happens when you seize the means of production? You go, anybody here know how to run a factory? No. That's why these government grocery stores shut down. That's why they closed down. This is your big plan? This is what you think's going to happen? He thinks, if Amazon leaves, a bunch of unions will just come together to start a new company. Unions mooch off the companies. Why don't they run their own companies? Why don't they start their own car companies? Why don't they start their own tech companies? Why don't they start their own schools? They mooch off of what already exists. What about the state's ballooning budget crisis? Brandy asked about that as well. And this clip here reveals exactly what these socialists actually want.
How can you call it austerity, though, when it's
We've
ballooned
we've heard quite a lot from
70%.
This person. I just want to make sure that we have others with the ability to ask questions as well.
Okay, stop right there. She kept asking good question after good question after good question. Mike, I don't know if you saw the video that she posted. I think Nicole must have been on one side filming Brandy and Brandy's filming Sean Scott. Did you see who was standing with Brandy in that little crew? I saw 4 other reporters, maybe, and one of them was Hannah Krieg from the used-to-be Stranger where she got fired from. So why does nobody have any questions there, Mike? Gee, I can't figure out why. I know our friend Carlene Johnson was down there. I haven't seen her clips yet. I assume she asked good questions, too. But the reason Brandy's monopolizing the question is because Hannah Krieg agrees with him. It's because these left-wing reporters agree with him, and they're not going to challenge it. This is what they want. This is what they want.
Well, and what would they possibly even ask?
Right.
And that's the thing. It's like 4 people. It's like, well, I guess I'm just going to keep asking questions, because watching some of that video, it gets downright awkward at times. There's like dips and lulls. It's not like Brandy like pounced on him or anything.
No.
Like I feel like she was doing good journalism and reporting and like giving other folks space. And it's like, well, all right, I guess I'll go again.
Right. Nobody else is asking questions. So he doesn't like that he keeps getting all these questions that he can't answer. At one point, he started to sound like the male version of Kamala Harris, just rambling word salad nonsense with a lot of descriptors. That's what it sounded like at some point. It was almost embarrassing. But then my favorite is when he realizes nobody else wants to ask any questions. So I guess it's back to Brandy.
And then if we come back to you, if nobody else says anything, then we can go on. Okay.
How many taxes is enough? I mean, is there a point of revenue where you'd be satisfied with the number of taxes, the amount of revenue we have?
Yeah, well, I think taxes...
You guys laugh, but real people are impacted by these taxes.
Stop right there. I don't know if you heard that as clearly as I heard it. I got the mega headphones on right now. The people standing behind Sean Scott laughed when Brandy asked, how much is enough? And that gave away the game. Because what they're laughing at is they want all of it. It's never enough. They want to seize the means of production. They're laughing because they know how this actually ends, what their end game is. They want it all. They're like Queen. They want it all, and they want it now. That's what they want right now.
You know this.
That's right.
We saw a ton of taxes
They
go
are.
up.
So what I would say is that the taxing in and of itself is not the social good. The good is making sure that institutions that people rely on are well funded. So as long as we are still hearing from people talking about not being able to have affordable housing, people having a hard time getting a higher education, people who are going to be kicked off of the Medicaid rolls, people who are having a hard time accessing basic services, taxing as a matter of basic arithmetic is the way that we get to funding those programs. So as long as we have people that are willing to come down to Olympia in the middle of the day when it's not even the legislative session to say that we need basic services funded, that's my gauge for whether or not we have done enough on the revenue question in Washington state.
Stop for a second. Do you know who's standing behind him? Crusty old white people, including a woman who is an anti-Semitic, anti-police, anti-religious teacher over at University of Washington. These are not essential workers standing there. They're probably the baristas who are on strike here in Seattle. They look like Kashama Sawant's merry band of lunatics. That's who he brought. Can we be real about who these workers are? Oh, the UW professor has it so hard. Amy Hagopian, whose son is part of Katie Wilson's transition team because he hates police and he hates Jews too. Wow. Yes, essential workers. They're having a hard time accessing health care, having a hard time accessing benefits. Such a hard time. These people are having such a hard time accessing anything that they have the time in the middle of the day to come down to Olympia and not be at work. Wow, such a hard existence. Mike, we weren't down in Olympia. You know why we weren't down in Olympia? We have work that day. We can't just drop everything. Brandy had to rearrange her show schedule yesterday because that's her work to go down there.
This is the answer.
There seems to be a general kind of laughter or disdain for job creators. And the truth is our state has...
There we go again. Laughter and disdain for job creators. And then they laugh again. The Starbucks baristas don't get that if Amazon moves, nobody's going to be buying their high-priced coffee, and Starbucks is going to be closing their stores. If Amazon leaves, less people at the grocery store, less people at the barbershop, less people at the mechanic, less people at the communist coffee shop. That's how you lose more jobs. They're giving away the game in this entire press conference. They want Amazon to leave. They want all of us to be reliant on the government and fork over every resource we have. That's the quiet part they're not saying out loud. They want everybody living off the government. They want everybody living the socialist existence where you have nothing and the government provides everything. That's why they're laughing. Can you tell me anywhere where this program has worked? Anywhere. Anybody got any ideas where this has worked? Nowhere. And for all you Star Trek communists out there who always claim, what in the future, it's a utopia with no money because of one line in First Contact, clearly you've never watched the show. In the show, why do we have trouble with tribbles? Because a trader, not Trader Joe, a trader came along and was selling tribbles. What about Harry Mudd? What about Gold Press Latinum? Have you guys never watched the show before? What about Quark? He literally runs an entire bar on Deep Space Nine, which is based on Federation credits or whatever else they have. Guys, you ain't getting your socialist utopia. And if you do, it ain't going to be a utopia. You know why? You'll have killed everything that's funding your socialist insanity. That's what they're counting on. That's what they want to happen. And they just gave away the game. When we come back, my friends, lots more to discuss as the show continues. Local crime around here, even though they say crime's down, crime's down. That plus more of your calls and more of your texts. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, download that KVI app and subscribe to us on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. That way you never miss a minute of the show. In fact, you can go back to old shows, and now that Spotify's back up and running, you can get it all over there. Also, check out KVI.com. While you're there, remember to become a KVI Insider so we get updates on all the latest information. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from Stilgar and Renton. Stilgar, what's going on, man?
Oh, all this socialist talk really gets my hackles up. So I think one of the biggest problems, and this is true for people that don't declare themselves socialists, is that they see the government as a charity. And we can't do that. It cannot be a charity because, well, for one thing, actual charities care if their donors' money gets scammed, unlike the billions that we just lost to certain malfeasance in Minnesota, among other places.
Mm-hmm.
So, we need to, it started with Social Security. I mean, this has been, slippery slope, camel's nose kind of thing for quite a long time. And they're talking about, we've got an affordable housing problem, so let's give money to people to make, to subsidize their housing. It's like, no, get out of the way and let the market do what it's going to do, and affordable housing, if it needs to happen, will happen.
Yeah, and here's something else. Do you know, and this is something the Washington State Legislature really screwed up. Right now, Florida has more money than it knows what to do with. Now, they can spend it on stupid, or they could save for a rainy day. Washington used to be like that, and what did they do? They spent it on stupid. Like self-service stations for dudes that they call an art gallery, or, laser hair removal for trans inmates and things of that nature. You know that one of our congressmen in Washington, D.C. right now is asking for money so we can redo our roads for the World Cup. Why? First of all, don't we have budget for that here? But two, these projects never pay off in the long term. That's the insanity. That you're right. They see it as a charity, or they see it as something they can rip off. Stilgar, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Eben in Bonnie Lake says over on the Warrior Injury Law text line, Ari, I would call Democratic Socialists parasites, but I think that would be very offensive to parasites. From Bob in Portland, unions are parasites. Seems like everybody thinks they're parasites. This one from Forest Free Whatcom, Ari, why do you hate tax equity? The progressives screwed up Seattle, so why shouldn't Bellevue have an equal opportunity to lose their best-paying business? Very good. Very, very good. Hi, Ari. This one from Ron. Would the proposed payroll tax include the public sector? I work for King County. Great question. Are we going to start taxing Seattle for paying Katie Wilson close to $400,000 a year? You think she's still going to be asking her parents for allowance? Oh, I sense a meme coming. I feel a meme coming on. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Thomas in SeaTac. Thomas, what's going on?
Hey, how's it going? Hey, I was listening to you earlier, and you were talking about nativity scenes, and you were talking specifically the one about the Snoopy.
Yeah.
You recall that, right?
Yeah.
There's a temple in Bellevue that every year for a week they display over 600 different types of nativity scenes, anything from the traditional to something funny like that. I have never been offended by it. Never. So those people that get offended, I invite them to go out there to check it out because it's pretty cool and it's awesome to see.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to say.
I love that kind of stuff. There was a house near me. Okay, I grew up in an Orthodox Jewish home. I grew up in an Orthodox Jewish neighborhood. And every year, my mom would load us in the car and take us to what we called the Christmas house, okay? And we went to this massive house, and they had the lights everywhere. I can't even do it justice. It put everything else I've ever seen before or since to shame. These people would hire a Santa to sit on the front lawn. They had mechanical you-know-whats everywhere. It was magnificent. It's just magnificent to see, and people freak out about this. It's like the people who get upset when you say Merry Christmas or Happy New Year. I'm telling you, I don't get offended by that kind of stuff. I love that kind of stuff because it means you're celebrating our culture. You're celebrating our religion. And people who have no sense of humor about that stuff, hang on, wait 1 second here. Jeff in Kent has this one, Thomas. You're going to like this one. He says one year he took the baby from the manger and replaced it with a Visa card, and his in-laws were not happy about that. That's funny, Thomas. What do you think?
I think it's hilarious.
Yes, my kids are all now walking, talking Amex cards. I'll tell you that right now. It's kind of crazy. Thomas, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Yeah, people have lost their minds. They're too oversensitive on all of this stuff. They really just lose their minds about it. I don't know what they're getting so worked up about. I really don't. When we come back, my friends, true crime. What's happening around here? There was an officer-involved shooting in South Seattle. The lunatic liberals went crazy over it, but now we have the body camera footage, and we'll tell you exactly what happened. We'll give you those updates when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Well, I love that the Democrats say that crime is down around here, and yet the entire front page of Como News is absolutely covered with true crime stories, including some that just happened today. Let's see what's going on in Seattle, where crime is so down. Seattle police officers arrested a man who allegedly rammed a police vehicle with a stolen Porsche Wednesday afternoon. By the way, this is a gorgeous Porsche. I don't normally like Porsches. It's that deep blue color, like the car in the movie Cars. It looks like that. The incident first reported shortly after 1 p.m. near the 400, fun typo here, Mike. Ready? Instead of near, they wrote bear. Cocaine bear! Stealing cars. Bear stealing cars. Near the 400 block of South Jackson Street in the Chinatown International District. Seattle police received a 911 call about a man slumped over the wheel of the car. When officers arrived to investigate, they found the car did not have a license plate. Officers woke up the man inside the car. He got startled, began ramming the police vehicle multiple times. Sounds like drugs to me, or alcohol. During the arrest, officers sustained minor injuries. Officers also found a gun. We are so thankful our officers didn't get any more injured. This was a dangerous scenario. The car was confirmed as a stolen Porsche. The man police arrested is expected to be booked into King County Jail. All right, can we do predictions here? What are we going to find out? Are we going to find out he's a prolific offender? Are we going to find out he's homeless? Are we going to find out he's a drug addict? Are we going to find out he has a long criminal record? What are we going to find out, or do you think it's all of the above? Give me what you think. 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Call or text us. Meanwhile, got another one here from Seattle where crime is down. There's an investigation that's underway regarding a fatal officer-involved shooting that was near the Othello Light Rail Station yesterday afternoon. One man died, and a bystander had minor injuries from shattered glass as bullets flew through the typically busy neighborhood. Officers were called to the area around 1:30 p.m. Tuesday for reports of a shirtless man waving a gun. Officers ultimately shot and killed the man after they said he advanced towards them. Hang on a second. Shirtless man with a gun. I happen to know this area well. It's South Seattle. My dentist is over there on that corner. So I know the area. I know what's over there. Would you like to know how many homeless encampments are buried in the parks over there and the churches over there and everything else that's over there? Oh, you know what else is on that corner there? The Commie Coffee Shop I was talking about yesterday. What is it, like Red Coffee or something? Yeah, literally a communist coffee shop. They're right over there near the light rail station. Anybody surprised by any of this? No, of course not. But I love how the anti-police brigade was out in force yesterday saying, why the cop shoot somebody? I bet he was wrong. Well, because it was a lunatic homeless person, most likely, without a shirt. What was the temperature yesterday here in Seattle? A crisp 47 degrees. Yes, definitely shirtless weather. You think maybe it was a drug addict or a mentally ill homeless person from the nearby encampment over in the park over there? Just a hunch. Just a hunch. The damage from dozens of rounds fired by Seattle police can be seen on multiple shattered windows and bullet holes scattered around the intersection of MLK and Othello, an area typically busy with commuters from the nearby light rail stop. Okay, can we stop for a second here? Busy with commuters. I'm around there all the time. You know the busiest I've seen it? When the communist coffee shop has an anti-Israel protest. Busy with commuters. Oh, give me a break. Cindy Lee was behind the counter of her bakery when she heard the shots, thinking at first it was fireworks. Oh, that's a game we play in South Seattle. I don't know if you guys play this game in other parts of Seattle. We play it in my neighborhood. Gunshots or fireworks. We play it almost every single night. What do you think that is? Yes, I've gotten very good at this game, by the way, and my wife has gotten very, very good at pulling up the police scanner to see what's going on. Yes, fireworks or gunshots. Though police say officers tried to negotiate with the man, other witnesses say the shooting happened quickly, with some in the neighborhood sharing they believe dozens of rounds fired were excessive. Oh, did you talk to the people from the communist coffee shop? Is that why? Did they say it was excessive? When a guy is waving a gun at you, what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from Ted in Gig Harbor. Ted, what's up, man?
Ari, the communist coffee shop. Okay, so get this. You know, the yuppie walks into the communist coffee shop and orders a mocha macchiato latte, you know, and the barista, who's, you know, about 5'5" by 5'5", says, "It's communist coffee shop. It's one flavor, coffee, and you will like it."
I like that. That's very good. You know how you always know you're in a blue city? Because there's good coffee, right? You don't have good coffee in other cities because you got a lot of people who are baristas and don't know how to do anything else, right? Right?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
You just wait. You know, a little while of what do they call it? The collective coming together, and they won't have two nickels to rub together to buy any kind of coffee.
No, of course they won't. Of course they won't. Plus, they're blowing all their stuff on communist propaganda they print up all the time. Those expenses add up after a while. Ted, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. This one from the 206 over on the Warrior Injury Law text line. I predict the guy with the Porsche who stole the Porsche, will not be charged for stealing the car because it can't be proven. After all, he was only sitting in the car. No one saw him steal it. Oh, that is the most Seattle thing ever. So true. This one here from Eben and Bonney Lake. Ari, you know as well as I do, the guy in the stolen Porsche ramming cop cars is already back out on the street looking for a new car to steal. Yeah, but crime's down here, right? We go back to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from Lou and Linden. Lou, what's going on?
Hi, Ari. Yeah, just giving you a call to remind you and your listeners that why the city of Seattle was named Seattle. In 1851, when the Denny Party landed here with about 8 adults and 7 children, they were landing in the worst time of year, November the 9th, 1851. As you know, and everyone knows, it's the rainiest month of the year here. And they were worried about surviving the first winter. Well, great fortune for them, Chief Seattle befriended them because he saw them as their brothers and sisters. He was converted to Christianity by a Canadian missionary who arrived about 1845. And he became friends with the Canadian missionary who learned to speak his language. Chief Seattle had never met a white person who could speak his language. This Canadian missionary had a great facility with languages and spoke several languages. And they were able to survive that first winter from one reason and one reason only, because Chief Seattle befriended them and told the local tribes that he supervised. There was 2 tribes that he supervised, as Duwamish.
Oh, hang on a second. I think supervised is a really nice word. You mean conquered, right?
No, he was the chief. He was the boss.
Right. But you know that he conquered and raided and pillaged and enslaved other tribes, right?
Other tribes, yes, because they attacked Puget Sound tribes.
So wait, you're saying a slave owner saved the white man? We should tear his name off all the buildings and statues around here, don't you think?
In fact, on Polsbo at the gravesite of Chief Seattle, everyone should go there. It's in Polsbo, where he's buried in a churchyard, an old churchyard in Polsbo. It says on his gravesite, on his gravestone, engraved, it says, Chief Seattle, reliable friend of the white settlers, and his baptismal name is Noah, Noah. Noah.
It doesn't say slave owner? It doesn't say that.
No, it says Noah because he loved the story of Noah, because he'd been taught the flood story when he was a little boy.
I think that story resonates very, very well with people in this part of the world, don't you?
The flood story, yeah.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, Ari, he was told as a young boy that his ancestors were on a ship. And when the waters receded, the ship landed on Mount Rainier.
What?
And that's how.
I thought there was just the original
exactly
Weedle.
Like the biblical.
Wait! I thought the Weedle was up on Mount Rainier, and he heard all the sawing and stuff, so he came and went up on the Space Needle. Lou, appreciate the history lesson. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show? You give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. TJ from Covington, back to the story about the shooting, says, Ari, it was at 1 p.m. Where are all these commuters they talk about? They're all at work. Yes, exactly right, TJ. That's why they keep saying where it's usually busy. Oh, it was at 1 p.m., and it's not usually busy even during rush hour. Lots more to discuss as the show continues. When we come back, my friends, the creator of The Matrix is apparently really mad. We're all saying the people are getting red-pilled. We'll tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. I haven't discussed the Matrix movies in a really, really long time, but now the creator of the Matrix is in the news. The Wachowskis are two brothers that have always been a little, shall we just say, off or interesting. They both transitioned. I have many questions about this, but these are people who very much politically identify with the left and have with some time. Well, in a new interview, they are very, very mad that apparently us Republican types use the term red-pilled to talk about somebody who decides to become a Republican. So they were doing this interview, and now the person who goes by Lily Wachowski, by the way, you guys aren't fooling anybody with these, says, so right-wing ideology appropriates absolutely everything. They appropriate left-wing points of view. They mutate them for their own propaganda to obfuscate what the real message is. Lily Wachowski said on So True with Caleb Huron. Can anybody name for me anything we appropriated? First of all, here's something else. Did I miss it, Mike? I've watched that movie a gajillion times. I love The Matrix. I'd say, if anything, I always thought that movie was more conservative. The agents are always talking about your taxes. They said that you pay your taxes. And then Morpheus goes, when you pay your taxes. I always thought that was a dig at taxes. That was always my thing. I mean, I didn't think the movie was political at all, but I said, you guys are really hung up on taxes in that movie.
We may have seen a different movie.
Okay. I mean, Mike,
because the people that are in the pod, spoiler alert for a 35-year-old movie, like, those are the ones paying the taxes.
Oh, I get it, but it was
like the anarchist weirdos eating the gray goop and stuff, the ones that are all free and stuff, no taxes for
No
them.
taxes. I see. But then wouldn't that put them on our side? I don't know, man. I
don't know.
See, for me, I'm
not that smart.
I never saw the politics. I just thought it was weird how they always emphasize the word taxes. They overemphasize that specific word. And I got to think to myself, that was a directorial decision because two different actors are both overemphasizing the word taxes. Okay, my own hang-up. I was not politically active when I first saw The Matrix. Now I just watch it and enjoy the movie because it's a legit good movie. That first one, amazing. Really amazing. What are the things we appropriated? Really? The red pill was a natural thing. The red pill, blue pill kind of thing. In fact, I bet if you tell people that, most of them don't even know it's from The Matrix. I bet anybody Zach's age and around that have no clue it's even from The Matrix. So then Wachowski continued, this is what fascism does. What? Okay, what are you talking about? What are you talking about?
Do they not like sombrero memes? Like, what are we talking about?
Right. Oh, we appropriated Mexican culture. Is that what it is? Yeah. Tell me about all the people appropriating Hamas culture that are on the left, shall we? And so, of course, that's going to happen. They do it with absolutely everything. They do it, make America healthy again. It's like are you, what is going on? Well, that's what I say about your speaking skills. This idea, putting specific scientific gender in the words of where are we going with this? There's only two biological genders. They're calling it science, but that's not science, right? What? I'm just reading the transcript here. Transcript. I'm just reading that. I don't know what you're actually saying. Continuing, and that's what fascism does. It takes these things, these ideas that are generally acknowledged as questions or investigations or, truisms about, humanity and life, and they turn it into something else so that they remove the weight of what those things represent. I don't know what you're saying. This is like the Speed Racer movie. I don't even know what's going on in the Speed Racer movie. I kind of liked parts of the Speed Racer movie. I thought it was visually stunning, but I didn't like the movie itself. I thought it was well cast. I thought it was well made. I thought the script was garbage. That would be my assessment of the Speed Racer movie. And I like Speed Racer. I look at a lot of their movies, they're all trippy. They're all strange. They're all weird. And those last two Matrix movies, second one, I like. Third one, off the rails, crazy time. And then the new one, don't even get me started on the new one. You want our review of the new one, you can go look that up at kvi.com or you can find that over at the old podcast. But that one's completely crazy. I don't know what this person's saying here. You know what I would say if it was me? If the left appropriated something I created, I would say, thanks for the rental fees. Thanks for the download fees. Thanks for all this new generation rediscovering my terminology that's now giving me money that I can donate to Republican candidates or Republican causes. Instead, you do this and everybody goes, wait, I didn't know The Matrix was political. I don't even know who these directors are. Now I may not watch your crazy movie anymore.
Well, they're different people now also.
there is
like
that
if you
as
watch
well.
the opening credits or closing credits of The Matrix, it's like, ooh, let me see what else. Okay.
Yeah, did they die? Did they get new? Is it their kids? I'm confused. Are these the parents? Very confusing stuff. When we come back, my friends, what's not confusing is the massive amounts of frauds that are being unveiled out there in Minnesota and how much of it is actually trickling over here to Seattle. Tell you all about it when we come back. You'll listen to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Republicans are euphoric over the Tennessee special election, but there's a massive cautionary tale that they need to pay attention to because we had the same thing happen in Seattle. But before we get to any of that, my friends, we have another illegal alien trucker who this time was charged with killing newlyweds in Oregon. This one was licensed by Gavin Newsom's California. How many more of these stories do we need? This guy jackknifed a tractor trailer, and what happened was a couple from Oregon got plowed into by this mess. So, we want to do this again. More of these illegal aliens. How many of these ticking time bombs are on our roads? How many? Well, now, the Trump administration is widening its crackdown on what Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy calls the illegal trucking chain, announcing the removal of nearly 3,000 commercial driver's license training providers from the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration's training provider registry. The administration also put Minnesota on a 30-day clock to revoke commercial licenses federal auditors say were issued unlawfully. I got a question here. Is anything in Minnesota going correctly? Has Tampon Tim done anything right at all? It seems like the more people dig into Minnesota, the more fraud, corruption, malfeasance, and mismanagement they find. That's what it seems like. Wow. Tim Walz. Stellar guy. Well, I guess he's really just a knucklehead, like he says he is. Uh-huh. Yeah, that song's too cool for him. I think it's... The Department of Transportation said the training provider removed target schools and programs that failed to meet federal requirements designed to ensure new commercial drivers are properly prepared before operating semi-trucks and school buses. Oh, school buses. Somebody came up to me at one of the Let's Go Washington events, said, Ari, love the show, love KVI. You know how you talk about all the time with the commercial driver's licenses, about how you have all these illegals who are driving the semi-trucks illegally and who can't read English and such? This person told me they do the same thing with the buses, with the school buses, with your kids. Now, this person, I asked you and I gave you my card and I said, if you have any evidence of this, can you please give it to me? Haven't heard from them yet, or maybe it's in my spam filter. But I'll tell you what, guys. If there are any bus drivers listening to the show, and the last time, you know what story we got from a bus driver last time? That all those school buses in Kent weren't working when Kamala Harris came to town. You remember that one? They said, Ari, find out how many school buses are working in Kent. They're the same ones Kamala Harris wanted to buy. So, school bus drivers. If you're at the yard right now, if you're on your way home from your route, don't call while driving, but afterwards email me, ari@kvi.com. That's ari@kvi.com. And if you have proof this is happening, please send it on over. Another 4,500 training providers were placed on notice for potential noncompliance as they began a broader review of roughly 16,000 providers listed on the registry. Federal officials said providers were removed for conduct including alleged falsification or manipulation of training data, failure to meet required curriculum or instructor standards, incomplete record keeping, or refusal to provide documents during audits and investigations. The administrator, Derek D. Bars, framed the action as a blunt message to the industry. Providers unwilling to follow the rules have no place training America's commercial drivers. Let's do this for a second. Parents, I'm talking to you for a second. Any of you ever teach your kids how to drive? Did you want anybody passing your kids, even if they weren't deserving of being passed? You didn't want the kid to be sad. But you didn't want your kid on the road because they're in your car, and it's your car they're going to damage. They're going to hurt themselves or they're going to hurt others, and you're going to be on the hook for it. All these schools had no qualms, no compunction about passing these drivers who are literally ticking time bombs on wheels. Quote, this administration is cracking down on every link in the illegal trucking chain. Under Joe Biden and Pete Buttigieg, bad actors were able to game the system and let unqualified drivers flood our roadways. Their negligence endangered every family on America's roadways, and it ends today. Under President Trump, we are reining in illegal and reckless practices that let poorly trained drivers get behind the wheel of semi-trucks and school buses. By the way, I think every time one of these stories comes out, Pete Buttigieg has less and less of a chance of being elected president. Everything that guy touched turned to absolute garbage while he was the director of transportation. You may think to yourself, what can these secretaries in the cabinet actually do? Look at Pete Buttigieg. He grounded America's airliners because he wanted to update the system to say, instead of, what was it, airman, just pilots or something, he grounded the whole system for wokeness. Hours flights were delayed. This is the guy who decided to blow up a train in East Palestine. Not the one after October 7th, not that one, right? But this guy, he decided to blow up a train, giant mushroom cloud, contaminated the whole area. Him and who are they? Not the FDA. EPA. Him and the EPA. They decided to do that. Trains going off tracks everywhere. I did like that Pete Buttigieg from time to time tries to dunk on Duffy, and Duffy always comes back at him with, dude, I spent my whole day cleaning up your messes. What were you doing when you weren't on paternity leave? So, Mike's getting the headphones. What's he got here?
You know, you bring this up every time, and I never remember off the top of my head. I always have to look it up. I asked Dr. Google what Pete Buttigieg, Edge himself, what he changed the airmen to, and he didn't change the designation of that. He changed the designation of the notice. It used to be notice to airmen.
That's what it was.
And changed it to notice to air missions.
Air missions.
So he didn't change them from airmen to air missions, but he changed like what the notice was, basically.
But that's what he did.
Still, woke is all hell, but still, it's like...
We have to be correct. Thank you for the fact check there, Mike, to make sure we are correct about the woke insanity that Pete Buttigieg did.
You want to feel real old? That was back in 2021.
Shut your face. That was 4 years ago? Wow. Time really flies when you're watching Democrats screw up branches of government. Holy cow. The Department of Transportation is also threatening to withhold more than $30 million in federal highway funding from Minnesota after an audit found that one-third of the state's non-domiciled CDLs reviewed there were issued illegally, according to the Department of Transportation in multiple reports. Minnesota has 30 days to come into compliance and revoke the licenses or risk losing the money. Hey, guys, do you know who's a lot of people in the trucking industry right now? Somalians. Got a lot of problems out there in Minnesota, huh? You think we're not having the same ones in Seattle? Drive in Georgetown. Go in Georgetown. Go in SoDo. Tell me who's running the majority of the truck companies there. Duffy also amplified the ultimatum, posting that Minnesota is on notice and must fix the problem within 30 days or lose the funding, saying that one-third of non-domiciled CDLs were issued illegally. The administration's push follows a string of fraud revelations spotlighting how unqualified drivers can be pushed through the licensing pipeline. You remember we told you about the Skyline CDL School, which has franchises operating in Washington and Oregon, which came under investigation after allegations have funneled cash bribes to an independent state-certified examiner in exchange for passing grades, effectively allowing some students who cannot meet standards to obtain CDLs. The White House has explicitly tied these actions, tightening training oversight and forcing states to clean up improperly issued license to a series of catastrophic crashes involving illegal immigrant truck drivers that prior to reporting had tracked. Those cases include the federal wreck tied to Hajinder Singh, the California pileup involving Partop Singh that critically injured a young child, the Southern California I-10 disaster involving Jaspreet Singh, and the Oregon crash involving Rajinder Kumar. Pressure has grown for federal enforcement that reaches beyond immigration policy and into the training, testing, licensing systems that put drivers behind the wheels of heavy commercial vehicles. I know it's a movie, but I keep flashing to this. You remember the movie The Long Kiss Goodnight? Gina Davis, Samuel L. Jackson? What's the finale of that movie? A truck with a bomb on it. A truck with a bomb on it wanting to blow up the bridge over Niagara Falls. As this whole nonsense and this fraud investigation in Minnesota continues, and we find out how far-reaching it is, what's the left go-to thing? You're all a bunch of racists. You're demonizing the entire Somalian community. You know what I find funny about that? The New York Times are the ones who said when these organizations were approached about the fraud that was going on, they said, we're just going to call you racists. You guys are literally doing the reporting from the New York Times, Representative Tom Emmer was on Fox News last night talking about the scandal.
I'm just grateful that you're reporting it, and the reason that it's getting reported is because Donald Trump, President Trump, finally made this a national issue when he sent out a truth a couple weeks ago. We've been trying to sound the alarm in Minnesota for more than 3 years. Everybody's focused right now on $1 billion plus in fraud that has been stolen from Minnesota taxpayers, and a lot of it allegedly has been sent to al-Shabaab back in Somalia, a terrorist group. But you know what we're not talking about today? Do you realize that, it's not that all Somalis are committing crimes, but 80% of the crimes being committed in the Twin Cities in Minnesota are being committed by Somalis. And by the way, the FBI has been investigating Somali gangs in the Twin Cities now for months. I am grateful that President Trump has raised this to a national issue. This is it's kind of like a small version of what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were doing at our southern border for the last 4 years. Tim Walz is as corrupt as the and incompetent as the day is long. You got $1 billion of fraud. You got the largest fraud case pandemic fraud case in the country.
Yeah, and it's only getting worse. So you think that Minneapolis's mayor might have something to say about this? Maybe something. Maybe, because it's all happening in his city. What do you say about this?
Good afternoon. My name is Jacob Fry. I'm the mayor of Minneapolis, and we are here to respond to a number of credible reports from several media outlets relaying that there are as many as 100 federal agents that will be deployed to the Twin Cities with a specific focus on targeting our Somali community. To our Somali community, we love you, and we stand with you. That commitment is rock solid. Minneapolis is proud to be home to the largest Somali community in the entire country. They've been here for decades in many instances. They're entrepreneurs and fathers. They benefit both the culture and the economic resilience of our city. Targeting Somali people means that due process will be violated. Mistakes will be made. And let's be clear, it means that American citizens will be detained for no other reason than the fact that they look like they are Somali.
Okay, enough. Dude, you've got one of the biggest fraud scandals in U.S. history in your lap. How involved were you? And if what Tom Emmer says, and he's your congressman, if what he says is true, over 80% of the crime in your city is being committed by Somalis, you should be out there saying, we're not targeting the Somalian community, we're targeting the fraudsters. And unfortunately, it's in the Somali community. You're better off telling us who it is so the feds don't have to go door to door. We are going to investigate this because they were stealing from everybody, including our Somalians who had nothing to do with it. That's how you can be racially sensitive and still address this. But instead, he's saying, we stand with you against the federal government in your fraud. Are you kidding me with this? So fraud's okay with you. By the way, billions of dollars of fraud doesn't happen unless the mayor of Minnesota is either in on it or looking the other way, and the mayor of Minneapolis and the governor of Minnesota. What is the governor of Minnesota? Exactly. What does the Tim Walz have to say about all this?
When the President of the United States sets up and tweets 150 times after midnight and targets certain people, it's not a coincidence that they're targeting Minnesota. We certainly welcome those investigations. They've been done by all of you, and they've been done here. We certainly want to know that, but it's also the Transportation Secretary.
Whoa. If they've been done, why hasn't anything been done about it? If it was done, why didn't you address it, Tim?
Who is threatening to withhold our federal dollars. Look, that's who they are. This is who they are. We welcome anybody who wants to help us. We're fixing it. And I said, Minnesotans know us and our team.
Wait a second. If you did the investigations, why are you fixing it now? Why didn't you fix it then? Methinks you are full of it, Tim.
We led us through COVID. We led us through George Floyd. We brought our economy to one of the...
Whoa. COVID. You sent out the National Guard to shoot paintballs at people who are sitting on their own porches. COVID, you let police stations in Minneapolis burn to the ground. You didn't lead anybody through anything.
Best in the country, and we'll tackle this. Other governors have dealt with fraud. I want to make sure I'm the last one that has to deal with it by putting these things in. If they want to help us, I welcome that. I think they do an investigation, find out, but I don't think anybody in here really believes their motive and their timing is about actually doing something about this.
Whoa, Tim, if this was something you investigated beforehand, why didn't you go to the feds earlier? If this has been going on since 2023, why didn't you take it to Joe Biden? Why didn't you take it to Joe Biden? Why didn't you take it to Kamala Harris, your running mate? You could have been the hero of Minnesota. Either you're in on it, or you want to look the other way, or you didn't do the investigations at all. How bad is this? Here's a local CBS outlet in Minneapolis reporting on it.
Could some of the money stolen in one of Minnesota's fraud cases have gone to a terrorist group? That's what the federal government is now investigating. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent blames Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and the Biden administration, saying they are investigating allegations that hardworking Minnesotans' tax dollars may have been diverted to the terrorist organization Al-Shabaab. Republican members of the Minnesota delegation called on the U.S. attorney to investigate those allegations late last month. President Donald Trump has repeatedly blamed Governor Walz and Minnesota's Somali community for fraud and crimes in the state.
Yes, because that's where it's happening. And look, if it was happening in the Jewish community, I would be screaming, ranting, and raving about how they're making us look bad. Not they and the feds, people in the Jewish community, and I've done it before. I literally had somebody from the Jewish community get mad at me over the weekend that I'm a Republican. That was pretty entertaining. Of course, they DM me on the Sabbath, so it shows how committed they are to this Jewish stuff, by the way. That one kind of cracked me up. Of course, I would be the first one calling it out, as I have done before. Hardworking Minnesotans include Somalians who had nothing to do with this. Where are the leaders of the Somalian community saying we want this fraud investigated because they're stealing money from us too, and they're making us look bad? That's what should be happening right now. Instead, it's, oh, everybody's racist. What did the press secretary have to say about this?
I'll tell you what does not add to our nation's character and integrity is refugees who come here under the alleged plight of asylum and fleeing persecution, and then come to the United States to abuse our system and rip off American taxpayers. And as I pointed out, the New York Times, to their credit, it was about 6 months too late, but they did write about how Somali immigrants in Minnesota have been ripping off American taxpayers. In fact, 86 people have been charged in a rampant and widespread fraud scheme spanning multiple programs in Minnesota. Of those 86, 78 of those people are Somali, 91% of them charged. So far, 59 of those people have been convicted for their roles in fraud plots that have stolen $1 billion from taxpayers. In one scheme, and this is egregious, a nonprofit and its affiliates with these Somali migrants claimed to have fed tens of thousands of American children during the pandemic. They were reimbursed for those meals by taxpayers. However, federal prosecutors found that almost all of those meals were never even delivered to hungry children. In fact, those organizations' leaders spent the money on houses, luxury cars, and real estate in Turkey and Kenya. Another scheme involved hundreds of organizations who were reimbursed for services that were supposed to help people at risk of homelessness. Once again, those services were never provided. All of this has happened under Democrat leadership in a Democrat-run state, where these refugees, these migrants are coming to the United States. They are abusing our system. They are draining our resources that should be going to law-abiding, taxpayer-funded, tax-paying Americans. And this president is not going to put up with it anymore.
The left is trying to paint everybody who calls us out as a racist. The press secretary didn't say, give it to white people, that only white people get resources. She says, the fraud is in the Somalian community. We need to investigate the fraud in the community. This is where it's happening. It's their community organizations. It's their non-profits. Of course, this is a narrative. The left always goes, oh, you're a bunch of racists. You're a bunch of racists. You know who they got coming to their defense? The Council on American Islamic Relations, CARE, the unindicted co-conspirators in the largest terror financing trial in U.S. history of the Holy Land Foundation. The ones who are tied to Hamas. Them. They're coming to their defense. When CARE comes to your defense, you know you're in the wrong. Listen to what they said when they were defending these guys.
Urging today, obviously, most importantly, for people to understand that this wasn't just some organic effort. It wasn't just some story or people are sharing. This is a well-articulated and organized campaign against our community. And for many of the conservative members of our community, I want to specifically name that this fight or this conversation is happening because there is a major debate about whether we are America first, and we care about America and America's interests, or we are Israeli first, then America first. Because I know for sure.
Whoa! Whoa, 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 whoa. So you're saying it's wrong to call out the Somalian fraudsters because Israel? Mike, that's what you heard too, right? That's not just me. Don't call out the Somalian fraudsters because Israel? I'm sorry, I didn't know there was this ongoing fight between Somalia and Israel.
This campaign mirrors the same campaign targeting Candace Owen and Tucker Carlson, major influence.
Whoa! Wait a second. The guy from CARE, the unindicted co-conspirator in the largest terror trial in U.S. history, is now saying how innocent Tucker Carlson is and people are smearing him, and how people are smearing Candace Owens? What is happening right now? This is your response to the Somali fraud. It's Israel's fault. It's the Jews.
On the conservative side who have garnered tremendous support in the younger generation of Republicans who are refusing to accept that America will continue to take the wars of Israel, destabilize the Middle East.
What? Okay. You have fraud in the Somalian community and somehow it's Israel's fault. Okay, who's being the racist now? Where are all the Democrats calling out this guy, blaming the Jews for the Somalian fraud? This is insane. This is absolutely insane. New levels of craziness going on here. I got to make a few phone calls over the weekend and find out how much of this fraud touches Seattle. There are too many red flags here in Seattle in the Somalian community with similar organizations that I believe are tied to this. In Chris Rufo's reporting for City Journal, which was the first one that broke this, apparently the person who was investigating the Somalian community was a Seattle police detective. I got to get a hold of this detective and find out what he knows about this community, because why else would a Seattle police detective be investigating Minnesota unless there was an actual link between the two? We'll definitely have to check that out. And speaking of Seattle, when we come back, my friends, Seattle Department of Transportation has a brilliant new way to do bike lanes. It's insane. We'll tell you what it is because it's entertaining when we come back. But first, Todd Herman's Daily Thoughtcast, right now on the Ari Hoffman Show. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, download the KVI app and, of course, subscribe on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. That way you never miss a minute of the show. We're back up on Spotify after some brief problems. Problem solved. Also, don't forget, we're over on YouTube. I have to rebuild my entire YouTube audience. I had thousands of subscribers, and then YouTube shut down my channel. And when they finally restored it, all my content was gone. All my followers were gone. So if you want, go find the Ari Hoffman Show over on YouTube, so that way we can pump those numbers back up again. Earlier in the show, we told you how Washington is losing a taxpayer every 30 minutes. Now we have flight out of Washington. And what I thought was kind of funny was the same day, this report comes out saying that Washington is in the top states in the country where people are fleeing because of high taxes. I saw this from King 5. Light rail expansion takes on increased urgency as 1.5 million more expected to move to Western Washington. Stop. Time out. If you're losing a taxpayer every 30 minutes, do you really need to expand the light rail more for 1.5 million more people? Really? What numbers are you guys using here? Western Washington's light rail network is expanding at full speed. But regional officials, here we go, warn that decades of delays have left the region playing catch-up with transportation vision first conceived in the 1960s. As the new Federal Way extension opens this week, light rail lines are focusing on pushing south toward Tacoma and across Lake Washington. Expansion comes as the Puget Sound region braces for staggering growth. Puget Sound Regional Council leaders have projections that show 1.5 million new residents arriving in the next 25 years. Mike, how is this even possible? If these companies are all talking about leaving, and you've got companies that are already working on leaving, what are you talking about? Who is this Puget Sound Regional Council? Where do you get your numbers from? In fact, I think I'm going to have to reach out to them and ask them where their numbers come from. Because anytime that light rail goes past where I'm sitting at a red light, it is never full. In fact, it's always empty unless there's a sporting event that night. That's it. It's okay. Transportation here. Do you know, I was laughing when I read this. The Seattle Times has an article. They sent this out as clickbait talking about some amazing new way they're building bike lanes here in Seattle. Do you know what they're doing? Mike, would you like to know what their new innovation is? Okay. What's the problem with the bike lanes? They put them in the middle of streets, high traffic area streets. So what happens is the bike lanes are not protected and people are getting hit by cars. So trying to figure out how to get people to stop being hit by cars. In my neighborhood, they use these giant planter boxes. Well, they kept getting hit and knocked into the road. That was causing problems. They kept breaking, and dirt was falling all over the bike lanes. They try those stick reflector things, those plastic thingies. Those keep getting hit. Now they have a new plan. Mike, you ready for this one? Rubber tires. Used rubber tires. That's what we're going to do. So your idea is the same thing my go-karting track had as a kid? Wow, what a new innovation. We're going to use old rubber tires to protect the bike lanes. You know, cars don't bounce off rubber tires. They're not stacking them 4, 5, 6, 7 high, like on a NASCAR track, not NASCAR track, but on some, off-brand NASCAR track. That's not what they're talking about. They're cutting off the tops of these tires, laying them on the ground. So they're about 5 inches off the ground? That's it? Yeah, that's definitely going to stop a car from hitting somebody. How much money is this costing? Oh, they're probably really, really excited because it's reuse, recycle. We're using rubber. We're using tires. Really? This is what we're doing? You'd be better off actually taking the whole side of a car and putting it there. That might actually protect people more. Or maybe you shouldn't have built the bike lanes in the middle of busy streets. You know, the east side. Out there in Factoria, they have beautiful bike lanes, and they're not interfering with traffic at all. They've got little tunnels. I see them anytime I go out to Factoria AMC. And I always go, this is how you do bike lanes. This is how you should have done it. But no, not here in Seattle. Just run them right down 4th Avenue. I'm sure that'll make sure people are safe. When we come back, Republicans think they're safe in Tennessee, and they think this bodes well for 2026. But I see similarities between something that happened here in Seattle, and I'm a little concerned. I'll tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, download the KVI app and, of course, subscribe on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. That way you never miss a minute of the show. So Republicans are breathing a sigh of relief after the special election in Tennessee. But I'm not so relieved because I'm seeing something that's similar to something that happened in Seattle that ended up going south. And I'm very, very concerned. So last night, Republican Matt Van Epps beat far-left Afghan Bain in the Tennessee special election. Now, tell me if any of this sounds familiar, and longtime listeners of the Ari Hoffman Show are going to know exactly what I'm talking about. You have a Republican who seems moderate, who seems normal Republican, who's going against an absolute crazy person. So this woman, Afghan Bain, I'm not going to make fun of her name, but she's literally on tape talking about how much she hates Nashville. She's running to represent Nashville, and she's talking about how much she hates Nashville. In addition to that, this is a woman who says she hates country music in Nashville. This is a person who's all the woke stuff criticizing everything locally, pushing socialism, pushing defunding the police, supporting Antifa, getting dragged out for protesting in Congress. And she lost, but only by a few points. This was a district that Donald Trump won by 20 points in 2024. You know what this reminds me of? Ann Davidson. Why did Ann Davidson win the Seattle city attorney race? People tried to make it a big thing. Oh, is there a red wave coming to Seattle? No. Who was Ann Davidson running against in 2021? She was running against Nicole Thomas Kennedy, a far-left Antifa-supporting lunatic whose main policy platform was, let's set up a staging area between Seattle and Portland for Antifa. This was the person who wanted to prosecute crime or not prosecute crime. She said she wanted to be the Seattle city attorney to not prosecute crime. That was her big plan. And I remember Ann Davidson barely won that election. Barely won. And I said at the time, young cherubed face Ari Hoffman, said at the time, is that if Ann Davidson doesn't make what she's doing out loud clear, the impact it's having on Seattle, and be very out there and in front of all this stuff, she's going to lose the next election. Because all the left has to do is pick somebody who's not crazy, who does a good job of hiding they're crazy, and Ann Davidson will lose. What happened? And by the way, it was a blowout too. Whoever was working as Ann Davidson's PR person should be fired. Whoever was working in Ann Davidson's campaign should never run a campaign ever again, because they never, ever talked about her wins. And instead, what they kept doing is putting her up against behind Bruce Harrell, anytime he came out with something that was anti-Trump. They convinced her that the way to win is to be anti-Trump, not to talk about the wins you had being the person who's actually pro-public safety. What I'm concerned about is that Republicans are going to do what Republicans have done in the past. Do you remember the 2022 midterms? They were not great for Republicans. Sure, there were some gains, but there were a lot of losses because Republicans got some really lousy candidates and really had not shown that they were the party that could be relied on. Donald Trump won the 2024 election, but he didn't have a sweeping win. I know you're going to say, wait, Ari, he won all the swing states. Yeah, but we didn't get a mandate in Congress. Look how close the margins are in the House. Look how close the margins are in the Senate. And what I'm concerned about is if Republicans don't get their act together soon and a bunch of bad candidates run, we're going to get a shellacking in 2026. Perfect example. And Mike knows this because I've ripped on this before. Why haven't you guys done more Doge rescissions? What's the holdup? What is Mike Johnson actually doing in Congress right now? Even Elise Stefanik is calling it out. If you guys want to solidify the Trump policies, then vote them into law, and we won't have to be at the Supreme Court every 5 minutes. You know what you guys should be doing right now? If you guys really support Donald Trump, vote the tariffs into law and make whatever insanity is going to come down from the Supreme Court headed off at the past. The Supreme Court is trying to decide if the president has the power to do it, whether or not Congress is the ones who's supposed to be levying taxes. So if that's the case, Congress, just vote for the tariffs. Just vote for the tariffs right now, make it a law, and you won't have this problem anymore. It's really, really simple. Just go and do that. What is Congress doing? Do the Doge rescissions. What are you waiting for? Stop funding this stuff. Instead, I don't really know what you guys do all the time. When even Elise Stefanik is calling out Congress and Speaker Johnson's leadership for not actually getting it done, she's not wrong, by the way. And that's what could cost us the election. I'm very concerned about the midterms. If Republicans lose the House and the Senate in the midterms, if they lose even one of the two, that's it. It's going to be Russia, Russia, Russia investigations all the live long day. That's what they're going to do. They're just going to start impeaching Trump, and the Trump mandates, the Trump policies, dead in their tracks. That's going to be the end of it. No more fun of any kind. It's going to be done. It's going to be stopped. And all we're going to hear is Adam Schiff talking about investigations nonstop all the time. Do you guys really want that again? Because that's what's going to happen. That is what is going to happen. We need good candidates. We need candidates who are not Mike Lindell. Mike Lindell has filed to run for governor now, which is crazy. He wants to be the Minnesota governor. You have the biggest fraud being unveiled there in Minnesota. Oh, yeah, let's bring in Mike Lindell to run this thing. No, this is the mistake we made in 2022. Let's not do this again. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Nicole in Federal Way. Nicole, what's going on?
Hello. My name is Nicole Clemens, and I'm actually here in Federal Way at the Walmart off 348, and I'm literally pushing a petition that hits close to home. So the fairness in girls' sports is a really big thing because kindergarten through 12th grade should not have to even be going through this at all. You know, what happened to ABCs and 1, 2, 3. So we need people to at least sign the petition so we can get it on the ballot so that they can critique it. Even if it included, you know, there's a lot of ways this could be critiqued.
Nicole, are you talking about the Let's Go Washington initiatives, the ones that keep boys out of girls' sports and the ones to make sure that parents know what their kids are being taught?
Absolutely. That's exactly the one I'm talking about.
Nicole, where are you right now?
I'm at the Walmart on 348 off of Pacific Highway, the big Walmart in Federal Way.
Okay, so Nicole, hang on. I'm going to give you a little plug here, okay? Is that anybody who wants to sign these petitions, I've been pushing for them. Your friend Brandy Cruz has been pushing for them. These are the ones by Let's Go Washington. Those of you who ask me where you can sign them, our new friend Nicole is out in Federal Way at the Walmart collecting signatures right now. If you are within the sound of my voice, Nicole, how late are you going to be there tonight?
I'm going to be here until 7 o'clock tonight, but I'll be here the rest of the week for the next week going forward from 12 to 7.
Okay, so guys, if you hear this and you want to know where you can sign these initiatives we've been talking about for months now, head on out to see Nicole in Federal Way at the Walmart. Head on out there. You can sign those. Nicole, I really appreciate you calling in and giving everybody that heads up.
Thank you so much for caring and putting us on the air. I appreciate you.
I appreciate what you're doing. It's cold outside and rainy, so we appreciate that. You take care, Nicole. Only good news to wrap up the show. Your good news headlines put a smile on your face heading into your evening commute as you drive to the Walmart in Federal Way to sign the petitions. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KBI. Only good news to wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And this story went mega viral, and I knew Mike would love it. In fact, I think Mike sent it to me in the first place. Out of Ashland, Virginia, this one comes from NBC. A drunken raccoon was treated at a Virginia shelter after pillaging a liquor store and passing out in a bathroom last week. I wish there was video. All I've seen are the pictures. This raccoon created a trail of destruction through the aisles, drinking all this alcohol, and then you literally see the raccoon, arms and legs spread out on the ground next to the toilet. Was it really on its way to puke or something? Was it going to pray to the porcelain god? According to the Hanover County Animal Protection and Shelter, an officer responded to the Ashland ABC store on Saturday morning. There, she discovered at least one aisle strewn with broken and open liquor bottles and wine boxes. The officer traced the carnage to a bathroom, where she found the culprit splayed between a toilet and a trash can. The raccoon was given some time to sleep it off before being released into its native habitat. It's got to do the crawl of shame back home. Quote, after a few hours of sleep and zero signs of injury, other than maybe a hangover and poor life choices. He was safely released back into the wild, hopefully having learned that breaking and entering is not the answer, said the staff in a social media post. The picture is so amazing, though. Literally, this raccoon passed out next to the toilet. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Meanwhile, this one here from WKRC, a man who was digging in a pool in his backyard ended up making money from the decision. A man in France stumbled upon a fortune while digging in the pool. He unearthed a gold treasure valued at 700,000 euros, which is roughly $812,000. The find included 5 gold bars, numerous gold coins, all wrapped in plastic bags and buried underground. Upon discovering the treasure, the man, who wishes to remain anonymous, notified local authorities. State officials, including DRAC, which is a regional arm of the Ministry of Cultural Affairs, were brought in to assess the find's archaeological significance. However, it was determined that the gold was only 15 to 20 years old, with each piece having a unique number, allowing police to trace its origins and confirm it was legally acquired from a Lyon area refinery. Under France's 19th century civil code, treasure is defined as any hidden or beneath thing which no one can provide their ownership and which is discovered purely by chance. The code goes on to state that ownership of a treasure belongs to the one who finds it on their property. As such, the man was allowed to keep the treasure. The man had lived in the home for about a year, with the previous owners deceased. The reason for the gold's burial remains a mystery. Fascinating stuff. Really fascinating. Here's this one here from King 5 News. This one's from our very own Washington State. The U.S. Coast Guard says a crabbing boat helped save 4 people on a fishing vessel in the Pacific Ocean on Monday. According to the Coast Guard, the crew of the ABC called for help around 8 a.m., saying their vessel was sinking. The crew aboard a different boat, the Lady Nancy, was a couple of miles from the spot, identified by the call, and made a beeline to that area. Once they got there, the Lady Nancy crew conducted a grid search for approximately 20 minutes before spotting an orange life raft. Cole said they discovered 4 men, 2 in a raft and 2 clinging to a survival suit, all suffering from hypothermia in the cold Pacific waters. The rescue became critical when crew member Roy Wyndham witnessed one man losing consciousness and beginning to sink. I saw him bob. His eyes were kind of open. Then he just started to go under, they said. Wearing a survival suit, Wyndham said he swam to the man, pulled him from the water. Once Wyndham and his crews got the man on board the Lady Nancy, Cole performed CPR. I thought he was going to be dead, but I performed CPR anyways, and it wasn't until I started praying that he came back too. So thank Jesus and, thank all the community and fishermen for being there for each other. A Coast Guard rescue boat arrived 15 minutes later. Within an hour, the survivors were lifted to a helicopter and taken to Hoquiam. The man who was unconscious, was considered to be in serious condition. So they called the rescue miraculous, said the Lady Nancy's crew's work likely saved lives. They know how important it is to maintain their training for the safety out there. They were able to help that guy and help all of those members. All 4 rescued men suffered hypothermia. The man who lost consciousness sustained serious injuries, including sore ribs from CPR, but the Lady Nancy crew was told he is expected to survive. What a great story to end today's show. That's going to do it for us today, my friends, but fear not. We will be back tomorrow with more insane stories and more exciting guests. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.